On today's show, the family-owned business as a niche. Part 1 of this week's series on business planning, the next generation, with millennial marketer David Specht, CFP. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Backroom Technician. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to the show, David.
Thanks, glad to be here.
Well, David, I love it. You are the next generation. We've had people on like Cheryl Moore, I'm thinking Brandon Roberts, Bobby Samuelson, under 35. Wow. And you really have quite a practice. I've noticed your name of your consulting firm is Advising Generations LLC. But I also noticed that you were a professor at the University of Nebraska, right?
Correct.
And so if you want to give a shout out to the Cornhuskers, although they were one of the few Big Ten teams that actually won.
They did beat Georgia.
They did beat Georgia. And what did you teach at the university?
I developed their family business management program. So
an actual class?
Yeah, an actual class. So it was targeted at the next generation of the business owners.
I see you've done extensive writing. I'm looking at the New York Times, Business Week, Family Business Magazine, and Farm Journal Magazine. I'm wondering how a person at you're really relatively young for our industry. What was the attraction for these magazines, and what were you doing in your practice to get them to want to have you play with them?
Well, family business sounds like a small, narrow niche. But the honest truth is 80 to 90% of all businesses in the United States are family businesses. And so these publications want to know, what should we do? What should we be talking about? Because that is their audience. It's also, you know, in popular media, family business is typically negative. They're talking about divorce, they're talking about sibling rivalry, they're talking about all the negatives that happen with family business. And so I've taken it upon myself to try to be an advocate for all that's positive about being a family-owned business.
Your production is pretty awesome for your age and time in the business. How did you develop such a lucrative practice at such a young age?
The honest truth is I had to do what was comfortable for me. And I'm not a natural salesperson. And the way that I did it was I went out and interviewed business owners and asked them about the legacy, asked them about the past, asked them about their history and how they were going to perpetuate the legacy that they had. And as you learn about their stories, you inevitably hear what they need. And for me, that was just natural. And so I had to use what was in my personality and what worked for me. And I think every advisor needs to figure out what works for them.
If I'm taking family-owned businesses as a niche marketing issue, how do I make that, how can I quarantine it and get it that tight as a niche?
So I think every advisor needs to figure out what are they interested in. If an advisor grew up on a farm, take for instance, they have a natural inclination to understand the family farm, what some of the complexities are. They understand what the implements are called. They can speak the language. And so if family farms is the niche that they want to pursue, they can do that. If construction is an interest, the construction industry is almost all family-owned businesses. And so you take what is interesting to you, and then you go out and genuinely figure out what they need. And you know, it really crosses lots of different industries. So family business is big, but you know, you can get even more narrow in the niche if you choose a specific industry.
Now, closely held family businesses generally are the bread and butter for people who are in business succession planning, business retirement planning. When you see this market, and people are watching us, advisors are watching our show today, and they're young advisors, this should give a lot of solace to people who are saying, hey, I'm just beginning in my practice. Yeah. How do I get in there? You really hit the doors and started knocking on business doors to really gather intel on small business. What did you find specifically that you then began to center as your own practice and make this a niche? Yeah.
So there were many that said, Dave, you're too young. Your face is too young to be successful. And I just didn't accept it. First of all, the next generation that's coming back into the family business or is recently back, they all look like me. And they need help. And their parents want them to have the guidance that they need to be able to navigate the complexities of not only joining the family business, but figuring out how are they going to become valuable to the family business. And that's something I spend a lot of time on. So I kind of play at the intersection of the generations. I can speak to the next generation because I look like them, and then the senior generation, you know, respects the pedigree, like you talked about, just education and other things. And so I took being young as an opportunity.
We'll be right back in 30 seconds. Back in the day, life insurance professionals were called field underwriters. Then, carriers trained their field force in the basics of life insurance underwriting. Today, the insurance industry doesn't educate the agent population as they once did. But now you can have the Informed Risk Guide at your fingertips so you can illustrate a reasonable rate class for your life insurance prospects. Just request your copy of the Informed Risk Guide at downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. It's free from Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. Well, we're back with David Specht. Hey, David, I'm taken back. One part of your practice is going to be really an anomaly for everybody watching the show is that you don't sell product.
I don't sell product.
You are into business planning, this new way of marketing where you're doing hourly billing and also plan billing, the total concept billing, and then you partner with people that have an expertise in whatever that is. You actually farm that out or outsource that. Talk a little about this. This is way off my understanding of what a business model is for being in the financial services.
Yeah, it is different, and I had to find out what was going to work for me. I have a real problem with people that try to be too many things in too many areas. I think it's impossible to be an expert at everything. And so what I do is I work with a collection of specialists. That's what I call them. And I do my own vetting. If they're doing everything, they're probably not a specialist. And so I'll find someone that is a life insurance specialist that really focuses most, if not all their time, on these insurance issues with the generational transitions or disability or long-term care. So I'm looking to put together this collection of specialists so that I know that when I'm putting a team of advisors together or plugging a hole with an advisor that needs to with a family that needs to step up in terms of the type of advice that they're getting, I really believe that experts, is necessary.
Well, what's really amazing is you're generating a huge revenue base off fees and planning fees, and your actual outsourced partners are writing serious premium. See, this is where I think it's so interesting. People go, these guys are doing really big numbers, and I have a person at the quarterback position who's 35 years old and has been really kind of young in our practice. I noticed also that you were, for a long time, security licensed, and you surrendered that to go into this.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about that, because remember, about 40% of our audience is securities, but everybody else is non-FINRA. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, for me, my interest level was really at the core, at the family level, and I didn't enjoy the money management side, and really wanted to focus on go into depth of the issues that kind of this confluence of family, being a family, and being in business, and so I had to decide what I was going to be, and for a family, I had a hard time saying, well, I'm a money manager. I'm an insurance guy, I'm this, I'm that. Really what I am is a family business consultant and a person that builds teams for families. And so I had to figure out what was comfortable for me.
Was it tough for you to walk because you had money under management? Was it tough to walk from that?
It was, but for me it was just about being genuine and being able to really find my voice and figure out what was comfortable for me to market to these families that I work with.
I'm looking at some of the, you were a long time, you actually helped a major broker-dealer, one of the top 3 in the United States, independent BDs. Really, you were part of their team for estate planning, was that not so?
Correct,
yeah. So you have a lot of background, not just business succession, but as it relates and dovetails back into estate planning.
For sure, yeah. My background is finance and tax planning. It just so happens that my core interests are these, kind of where these financial issues come together with family issues. So.
When you have plans, you must have models or plans already set up that actually dovetail and match into this, integrate into business succession planning, business retirement, and how it relates over to estate planning and all this. Are these plans the kind of things that when your partners are looking at you, your outsourced partners, they come in, they see these plans, right? Yeah. So did you develop this yourself, or were you using a software system that was purchased?
I developed the process myself because I felt like any software package that was out there was just positioning to sell product. And I want families to know that I'm not just positioned to sell product. I want their interest to drive what the advisory team does. Not my interest if I'm a money manager, not my interest if I'm an insurance professional. I want the family to feel like they have control of the agenda. And so I put together this continuity quotient, which is a tool that measures the perceptions of all the family members and then allows the team of advisors to see the gaps in perceptions and really execute based on what the family needs. And then, because it's the family's idea, they implement. If it's the advisor's idea, they don't always implement.
The continuity quotient, you just dropped a big one. That you got some international fame off of this. When did you craft it, and what is it doing now in your practice and the practice of others?
Yeah, so the continuity quotient, I think my wife would say was out of desperation. I would say it was inspiration. But it was my desire to really separate myself as a family business consultant and to be able to have something that I could hold on to that would actually measure the gaps in perceptions in these 7 different themes: business and estate planning, communication, leadership development, personal resilience, and give me a tool to then go to the team of advisors and the family and say, this is where we're weak, this is where you can help, this is what we need to do. And it allowed me to sit in the quarterback position.
Well, that's our show for today. Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas you hear on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, or your broker-dealer compliance department. And don't forget, you can view all our past episodes on downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. And remember, you could be wiser as an Ash broker.